So obviously Bowen's stealing the show, but a lot of other things going on this weekend. Jaden Riddell there, Ryan Puglisi, holding your breath that they don't, get injured.
I would
Caleb
absolutely shred an ACL on the way down from that.
Did you see the Caleb Odom video from Florida?
I did.
Oh boy, that
looked like Jake Rowe. That looked like Jake Rowe bursting out of some double doors.
Oh God, it's torn again. I know it.
I told you that ACL was gone.
Look at this guy.
Oh my God!
I told you, Del McGee heard your slander, man. Del McGee is ready to come back with it. I mean,
if you guys haven't seen Silo on Apple TV, Del McGee's looking like some Common right there. He's looking
he's got the Common beard.
Got some Common vibes right there.
Nitro Tuggle,
dude,
still the best name in any recruiting class ever.
A guy who's I think he's gonna finish well above the.
I tell you what, man, I was talking to somebody this weekend, and I'm sure it's one of these things I should probably save and talk about on the board. But hell, it's my first show back, so I'll go ahead and say it. I talked to some guys on the board. I talked to some guys this week, and who told me that they think Nitro Tuggle. Georgia's after some 5-star dudes, obviously. Ryan Wingo, Mike Matthews. They think Nitro Tuggle is just as good or better than those guys. Now, I don't think that they're not going to put him in the JJ Smith category or the kid from Texas or even the kid from Phoenix City, the Ryan
Cam Coleman.
Yeah, Cam Coleman. But in terms of the other guys, he is right there as far as they're concerned.
I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in that.
With the likes of Wingo and
I think his junior tape was as good as Tyler Williams' junior tape. And I think he's going to refine his game at IMG this season, and it's going to be even better.
How about this dude, Mike Matthews from Parkview? One of those cursed Gwinnett County football players.
Don't feel good. Still don't feel good. I think Georgia is probably in a better spot coming off of this trip, but I still think you're looking at USC. You're looking at Tennessee probably more heavily for Mike Matthews. It just kind of is what it is with him. I think that Georgia's not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. And listen, they would welcome him with open arms. I think he's a special talent. I think that he's in that tier where we're talking about with guys like JJ and Micah Hudson. But I've yet to hear anything. And that doesn't mean that I won't between the next time this show's on the air or even tomorrow morning and putting out some notes that will change that. I just really haven't gotten a feel that Georgia's the team to beat for Mike Matthews at all.
And when I said what I said a minute ago about Nitro Tuggle, that was not like to diminish anything about Ryan Wingo, who I think is tremendously talented, just really raw, and Mike Matthews, who is a big-time basketball player and is probably he's a freak athlete. That's just how much they think of Nitro Tuggle. I mean, he's a big time player, and people, Doc Scrange, our guy on the board who has been around these message board streets for a long, long time. He had a really good point when Nitro Tuggle committed. He's from South Bend, Indiana, and he said it's the kind of dude that signs with Purdue and has 1,700 yards receiving as a sophomore. Yes. That's the kind of guy that and we've seen it happen before. Some of those like Minnesota with Rashad Bateman. I mean, obviously he came from out of Georgia's backyard, and that was a miss eval there. But Nitro Tuggle is one of the steals of this class to me, and we'll see if I'm right, because we don't have to wait till he gets to college. We'll find out real quick at IMG, because if he just gets shut down there, then we're probably looking at a guy that I was wrong on, and it won't be the first.
Yeah, he's going to be going against Ellis Robinson down there, so you're going to learn a lot about the dude. And then also, too, what I say to people is, everybody's star watching in this class. This is a super deep wide receiver class in 2024. So I love the three guys Georgia has committed. Nye Carr gets written off a lot as well, but is a really, really talented player. And I've been told by everybody who's had any input on him that Sokovie White is a guy Georgia loves, man.
Yeah, this is Sokovie White, Mike Matthews, and Nitro in this picture here.
Sokovie White's buying the beer.
I don't know. Not Terry Tuggle might take the beer if he's wearing that thing when he goes in. That's a need.
Well, on the topic of underrated receivers, and this is somebody that included Georgia in their list of top schools, and there's been some talk about him on the board. Amari Jefferson. You can't convince me that there's 45 receivers in the country better than him.
Tremendous player. I love Amari Jefferson. And listen, Alabama does too. Tennessee does as well. Georgia does also. He's a fantastic player, and I think a guy Georgia, again, would welcome pretty early on. And also, too, we got pulled up on the screen right here. Let's not forget, Georgia likes to lean toward those tight ends basically as receivers in a lot of cases. Jaden Riddell and Colton Heinrich, two guys that they feel can absolutely get it done at that position as well.
Yeah, Todd Hartley right here is about to
lurking.
Tell you to sleep with the fishes if he doesn't get his money.
He's very organized.
Before we move on to the tight ends, though, with all this buzz we've had around these receivers that Georgia will or won't get, it seems like, to me anyway, this receiving class in 2024 could be the class of receivers that truly does, whether it's this year or next year or 2 years from now, puts Georgia on the map as a school that can actually do something with really talented wide receivers when they get on campus. Because year in and year out, you see guys pick USC, like you said, Roos, when it comes to Mike Matthews or Ohio State. It's just like, you just kind of, it's an afterthought. Georgia's an afterthought because USC and Ohio State are just going to get the better receivers. But I wonder if, Nitro Tuggle, Nye Carr, and these dudes can't prove to everybody in college football the Dogs can play that game too.
I'll go a step further, and I think it could be the class of 23 and this receiver room that they've got, that'll be taking the field this fall. I mean, and those guys may not be major contributors in year one, but, the group of Tyler Williams, Anthony Evans, and Yazid Haynes, I mean, a lot of good buzz about those guys as freshmen and looked impressive when we were able to see them. And Roos, I know you're high on them, and so I think that yes, you're right, Wes. This class of 24, they've got some really good receivers in that group, and again, Sokovie White is the lowest rated of them, but he's somebody that we hear a lot of buzz about. Nitro Tuggle that we've talked about, and Nye Carr, borderline, high 4, borderline 5-star kind of player. That class of 23 isn't a bunch of slouches either.
No, and I think too, what you have to consider here is, there are guys out there, and I'm not naming names because I think that they're doing what's in their best interest, but there are guys out there that are going to want touches. There are guys out there who are going to want numbers, and they're going to want stats, and they're going to do that. Georgia's not probably the place that's going to have 2 1,000-yard receivers in a season, like I believe Washington is returning this season.
Georgia hasn't had one since
Terrence Edwards did it, and that was the lone one in program history. Georgia spreads the ball out a lot. A lot of guys get touches in this offense, and so if that's what you're thinking and that's what you're concerned about, then it makes sense to go somewhere else. And I've made this point as well. If you're going to play for a wide receiver coach, Brian Hartline is the dude right now. I mean, it's been proven time and time again. The numbers are there. The draft pick is there. I mean, it continues to be the case. It's like linebackers coming to play for Glenn Schumann. Sorry, guys, but you can't get it at every single position. What you have with Georgia, though, I think, in Brian McClendon's first class is a tremendous set, like Palmer mentioned. And then in 2024, you're building an elite class, in my opinion, as well. Like I said, I think Tuggle's due for a bump. I think Nye Carr is going to get a bump, or at least stay where he is, which is a top 100 player. And then you've got another guy in Sokovie White who they really like. So, you go out and add another piece to this. I think that they're tracking right under Brian McClendon, who's only had a year to show what he can do in Athens.
I'm going to scroll through these really quick. Any thoughts on Fletcher Westphal or Ethan Callaway before we get to this dude right here?
I haven't heard on Callaway just yet, but I know that that's a guy Georgia likes a lot and would be a huge pull for them, given that he's in North Carolina, close by. I think it's a tremendous player on the offensive line. Westfall's a guy that really has my attention as well. I think that, Georgia, Clemson, he's got an official visit set to Arkansas in there. But he's a kind of a cage guy, really polished in his interviews. His family's done a great job of handling media, and I commend them for that. But, Georgia, I think, has positioned themselves well with probably both of these guys. I mean, Callaway, as far as I'm aware, I don't think I'm missing another visit, came to Athens one time, and on the back of it set the official visit. So that's always a great sign when that happens.
Yeah, great sign. And Tomahawk Dog asking if UGA is doing a 3D show in recruiting. I think those classes.
You just get to watch the Stone Mountain Laser show.
That's right. That midnight train to Georgia.
Those are two just prototype tackles too. I mean, both of them right around 6'7", 6. I think Westfall maybe even closer to 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just freak show, big dudes. One thing I want to add on the receiver thing, since Terrence Edwards, bad luck has also factored into Georgia's situation. AJ Green misses 4 games with 848 yards receiving. AJ Green misses 3 games the year before that with a separated shoulder. With 800.
And AJ Green played on Mark Richt's worst team ever.
Yeah. And then Malcolm Mitchell, getting hurt in 2013, celebrating a touchdown with Todd Gurley. You started the previous season at cornerback because Georgia was short on cornerbacks. That wasn't bad luck, roster issues, whatever. And then, he couldn't stay healthy after that. I mean, he was the guy that had the potential to do those types of things. I mean, you've seen it over George Pickens the season that we all thought he was going to have there in 2021. Tears his ACL during preseason or during spring practice. So, I mean, there's also been some poor luck in there. But at the end of the day, it may give a Tennessee fan a bragging right or two on Twitter. But at the end of the day, also George Pickens got drafted higher than Jalen Hyatt or Cedric Tillman, and Georgia's got 2 national championships.
Well, and I've told people this too, that people say, how can Georgia continue to kind of fall with this thing, like this whole idea of, being recruited against? Georgia has been for the last 10 to 15 years pointing to AJ Green as the heralded guy at the wide receiver spot when he was in college, then when he went to the pros. All right. Georgia does not have another guy who's gone to the pros and produced in the way that AJ Green has. So they've been riding on the AJ Green thing for like 15 years. George Pickens has a chance to change that narrative, as do some of these other guys, I think, coming along. Listen, what a story it's going to be. And I might save that for later, but I won't actually. Ladd McConkey might be one of those dudes who's able to kind of change that narrative up, man. I mean, go a little higher in the draft than people think that he can. Go out and produce. That's all he's done throughout his career. Georgia, I think right now is in the process of reshaping the wide receiver room, but the production hasn't been there just yet. They need more time for those seeds to grow.
You missed the Ladd show on Wednesday.
Yeah, we had a big Ladd show on Wednesday. Palmer and I rocked it. Here's the main event from the weekend. KJ Bolden, Jalen Hayward, and Edric Houston. KJ Bolden seems like he came out of this really enjoying his latest trip to Athens.
Yeah, get over to DawgsHQ and check it out. I'm not going to give all that up.
Yeah,
Come
we
on
can't
now.
give that away. I'm just
what
letting everyone
What I
know.
will say is, since it's in the headline, his father rated it an A+ visit to Chad Simmons. So that's huge. And Bolden, one of those, a freaking dude, man. A guy Georgia has wanted this whole time. They love him. And I feel really good about where they stand right now.
Jalen Hayward,
in with Georgia, Florida and Miami are going to continue to push, and that's home state for him. So I get it. He's going to feel that throughout this thing, but I like where Georgia is with him right now. He's a guy who seems like he's where he wants to be.
And then the other Buford guy, Edric Houston. I think it hasn't been much of a secret on this show. Georgia may be on the outside looking in there.
That's how I feel. Ohio State, I feel like, is the team to beat right there. Houston, one of those guys that seems like he wants to get out of state, but hey, it is what it is. You're not going to land them all. And I don't think Georgia hurt itself. I just didn't hear anything that made me think that, I should rethink the Ohio State pick.
Palmer, great job getting all these picks together and getting all the captions lined up. This photo of Georgia commits right here that were in town just on this visit alone. It's pretty scary for a lot of other teams. Colton Heinrich, Jalen Hayward, Jaden Riddell, Malachi Tolliver, Ryan Puglisi, Nitro Tuggle, Sokovie White, and the newest one, Chauncey Bowens.
Yeah. Look at Hayward there. I mean, just like, do you know who we are? Kind of got that look about him, you know?
Why aren't you here
Ryan
yet?
Puglisi also cool as a cucumber, man.
Yeah, he looks like, let me pull him back up here.
Nonplussed is the word I would go with.
He's like, all right, when are we going to eat at Bones? Come on. Tired of all these photos.
What cracks me up? What cracks me up is when these guys are changing outfits completely. Because I believe scroll up a little bit and Jalen Hayward is wearing red uniform.
Oh yeah, no, they're all in different stuff.
Yeah.
A little
So
costume change. Nothing wrong with a costume change. Hey, listen, soak in the red uni while you got, or soak in these uni combos while you got it, man. I mean, like Rose said, you're never gonna get to do it again. So
Nope.
all you
Georgia
get
does
is
a
Hey,
good
who's
job of
that
that.
cat second from the left up top?
that's Jalen Hayward.
Yeah, man. Tell you what.
Yeah, man. He knows what's up.
Yeah, he does.
I like Nitro. I like what one of the things I like about Nitro Tuggle is I feel like I very rarely in photos see his face. Like he's always got his hand in front of his face. He was wearing the ski mask in one of them. Like he's kind of got this like mysterious aura about him.
Yeah,
Which
he's got some mystique.
and his name's Nitro Tuggle. So I mean, it's like he's got some great marketing going on.